I did already, actually. And the PEPTF insures approximately 120,000 people, correct? And your membership is about 11,000 people, correct?
I am 62.
Geez, that looks good.
You would agree with that, correct?
I agree that these are tough economic times.
Very difficult.
Very difficult, but Pennsylvania's in better shape than most.
Oh, I dispute that. We're in better shape than Michigan. That's about it. And you said that your proposals were drafted with that economic background in mind.
Correct.
Now, I just wrote some things down. You tell me if I'm wrong. You've asked for a 4% general increase.
Correct.
A 4% increase if you have 10 years or more.
Correct.
That's 8. Another 4% if you have 20 years or more.
Correct.
12. A 1% step something from 9 years ago.
Correct.
So that's 17%. $600 into a health reimbursement account. Right.
Correct.
No, the potential of no premium copay for your actives or retirees, the way you proposed it.
Correct.
And enhanced benefits being paid by the Commonwealth.
Correct.
And you believe that is reflective of the economic atmosphere that we're in.
I do, because not all those are received at the same time.
So I understand that. I understand it. The minimum would be 5%, plus the health reimbursement, et cetera.
Correct.
And the maximum would be somewhere north of 13%.
Probably around there,
No.
maybe a little lower.
Not lower. 20 years, 4, 4, 4, and 1 is 13% right there, or 13% right there, without all the add-ons that you have.
Well, not everybody has the 10, the 20 years, so.
No, I said the max.
Oh, okay.
The minimum is 5.
Okay, yeah, all right, the max, I can agree to
So the
that.
minimum would be 5 plus all the add-ons. The maximum would be 13 plus all the add-ons.
Correct.
Now, can we go back to, I'm new to this particular representation, so you're going to educate me as to what my friend Mr. Jennings did. You said in 2004 he missed the filing,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Which caused your contract to roll for a year.
Well, the option was that that's how they portrayed it.
That's what
Once
happened.
That's what happened. Okay.
I'm not trying to excuse him or blame him. I'm just trying to
Okay,
say what happened.
that's exactly what
I
happened.
don't
You
know if
missed.
necessarily. I mean, I was around, and what happened was, yeah, the contract rolls for a year, but the problem is that you don't advance in pay, you don't advance in longevity increments, and because of the dirty deal that was cut that you're going to hear about, you get not only the PEPTF breakage, but you also get the copay. Good news.
And at some point you'll testify, I'm sure about that.
No,
Can I go back
we're
to
gonna have
asking?
witnesses who
That's
testify.
fine, then we'll do it then. Now, so rolled, and then you went to interest arbitration in 05?
Correct.
Okay. And in that interest arbitration, the lost step was not restored.
Correct.
And you went to interest arbitration again in 08?
Correct.
And in that interest arbitration, the lost step was not restored.
Correct.
Now, ironically, had you not decertified from ASME, you never would have lost that step, would you?
Correct.
So in some ways, it was
That's why
self-imposed.
That's why it's an injustice.
Well-
It was done with a mistake of an individual, and these people shouldn't be paying for someone's individual mistake.
Did you fire him back then?
I fired him when I took over.
I understand that. Did you fire him back then?
I fired him when I took over.
The answer is no, correct? The union did not fire him.
No, the union did not.
Filed a malpractice claim against him?
I didn't. No, they would not.
So, the union, which is you, number, you want somehow this adjusted.
Correct.
In your surveys about the vests,
Correct.
did you define what an assault is at all? I'm assuming you did, because it'd be very difficult.
I don't think I need to define to these people what an assault is. They know what an assault is.
Well, if an inmate were to push a correctional officer, that's an assault.
Correct.
Right, where the vest would be immaterial one way or the other.
Correct.
All I'm trying to figure is, you did not drill down to get to events for which the vests were designed to protect.
No, but if you have a case that it saved or provided that security, I'd like to know. I'd ask the DOC for that.
No, I'm not arguing with you, Roy. I'm just trying to
No.
understand what the numbers reflect.
The numbers reflect the number of officers that have had confrontation. It also reflects the number of people who don't feel that that vest served them a purpose. In fact, it changed the target area from mid to head and neck area, as you will see in the coming slides and presentation, which has caused some of them greater harm, or suffered more harm because of those head injuries.
You testified that it was your understanding that the vests were designed to deal with slashing.
Slashing.
Your survey did not ask how many of the officers had been subject to any form of slashing by the inmates.
No, it did not.
That's all. Thank you, Roy.
Anything further?
Nothing further.
Thank you, Mr. Quinn.
It's like, let's see who leaves, except for these guys got a day off today, just follows the cast.
We're talking about that in a second. We're going to break for lunch now, and we'll reconvene here at 2 o'clock. It's I'd be more than willing to stipulate interpret as an expert if you just want to follow that.
Very well. And I think for the arbitration panel, you're very well familiar with Dr. McCarthy. She's an accepted economist in this area. Dr. McCarthy, you were contracted by the Pennsylvania State Corrections Officers Association to do what?
I was asked to look at two very specific areas. One was a comparison of salary, longevity, career earning level compared to comparable COs in other states. And to look at what is it looking at internal consistency when it with other states. And I was asked to look at the issue of the fact that many employees are not on the pay schedule where one would infer they would be based on what the pay schedule says.
And that's with respect to longevity.
Well, with respect to steps and longevity, the corrections officers go through a series of steps before they begin their longevity, and there are people who have lost a step as well.
And you were actually asked to ultimately look at the third area concerning shift differential, right?
To look at what's happened to shift differential.
And you've had an opportunity to hear the testimony of President Pinto with respect to our proposals. Essentially, this is 2A wages, 2B the shift differential, and 2D longevity. In addition to essentially the background information regarding the Darby decision and this lost step, what were you provided by the PSCOA in terms of coming to your conclusions today?
I was given a copy of the collective bargaining agreement, of course, and I was given a couple of rosters of the bargaining unit that showed their pay higher and their pay grade that they're coming in and whether they're a 30 or 35 or 37. So I was able to look through all of that data and determine to some extent what's going on with the pay levels for these corrections officers.
What else did you look at in ultimately coming up with the documents that you're about to testify to?
I looked at the collective bargaining agreements for the other states that I've considered to be comparable, and census information, number of government documents. I've looked at Bureau of Labor Statistics documents.
Doctor, could you take us through your analysis for the Pennsylvania State Corrections Officers?
Sure. First page looks at changes in consumer prices compared to changes in the salary for the corrections officers.
And if I could briefly ask you, you have listed here CPIW. Why CPIW?
CPIW is for wage and clerical workers as opposed to all urban consumers, which would be the CPIU. And I use the northeastern urban CPI because we're in the northeast urban area.
Thank you.
I started the analysis with July of 2003, and that's the year before all this trouble began. So that's where I'm starting to see what's happened since that period. The measure I'm using for the correctional officer's salary, and you'll see this more in detail later, but for right now, I take the average salary of a correctional officer moving through the pay scale under one contract. So it would be the first year of pay, the second year of pay, the third year, the fourth year, through 25 years based on the current contract. And I have not included the step freezes in this. This is just the contract as it appears in the contract.
A strict interpretation of the contract.
Yes, so it's the pay scale as it appears in the book. So I took the average of the first 25 years of service. In July 2003, that average was 44,045. The consumer price index was 189.2, and that gives us a real salary of 23,280, and that is just something economists do to try to put the salary on an inflation-adjusted level. So that's going to be the base period, 23,280. And then I do the same thing each year. I take the salary as it exists and divide by the consumer price index to get the real salary in each subsequent year. Then the second from the last column shows the change from the previous year, and the last column shows the overall change from 2003. So over time, if you look at the change from previous real salary, this is the salary went down, and then it went up a little bit when there were some pay raises, and then it went down again, and then up again. But the overall change through this time period was an overall loss of 2% from 2003. And the new CPI numbers for March just came out last Friday, and I have them for you, although they're not obviously on this table. The wage is still the same, of course. The CPIW was 237.4, and the real salary then would be 22,590. And the total loss from July of 03 until March of 11 was 3%, minus 3%.
And so what we're looking at here too, the change from the previous real salary, I believe Mr. D'Angelo says that this year might be the worst year he's ever seen, but according to your scale for the H-1 members, in terms of wages, it looks like between 2003 and 2004 was one of the worst years they've ever seen.
In terms of the loss of salary in those years,